Welcome. I hope you enjoy the conversation you're about to see between me and another comedian about religion and comedy. These are conversations I'm calling disorganized religion. God bless. And for those atheists out there, may nothing await you after this life.
Hey nerds, welcome to another episode, another edition of Disorganized Religion in our quarantine series that may never end, to be quite honest, and I'm a little bit terrified. But this week we have the fantastic comedic stylings and comfort of Bridget Sell, who you can find on the Laugh Factory YouTube page, which is pretty darn cool. Bridget, thank you for joining us.
Hi, Seth. Thanks for having me. Am I weird yet?
No, you're not weird yet. We barely even got started.
I know. I'm already weird. I'm already getting anxiety attacks.
You're not weird. Though I hope this isn't the way you start every first date either.
You know, it probably is, and that would definitely explain a lot.
Am I weird yet? Am I weird yet?
Am I weird? Like, do you want to run?
I'm going to get a salad. Is that weird? I'm weird. Uh-huh.
You can go now if you want, and they always leave.
We'll meet up later. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. My goodness. How have you been doing with the coronavirus and with quarantine? You staying sane?
Yeah, I'm staying pretty sane. I mean, I've been focusing on like fitness and everything, you know, taking little breaks to write a joke into my phone for 2024 when we can do this again, you know?
Oh, that's fun. Any jokes? So I had Mandy on last week, and she had a joke that we ended up having her debut on this podcast. So if
Wait, who do you have on?
Mandy Martino, do you know her?
I don't. She sounds familiar,
great.
though. I mean, she's probably way cooler than I am.
I mean, it's fine. You know, we're not comparing anybody. She is amazing, and you're great. So
she premiered a joke on your pod?
Yeah, one that she's been kind of working on over quarantine, but has been unable to work on because of quarantine, right?
Yeah.
So if anything like that comes up that you want to debut, let us know.
Yeah, okay.
Take some
Maybe
time.
you'll just sense it. You'll be like, she seems a little bitty right now.
Ooh, all right. Go to the phone. Let's have it.
Miking.
Oh, my gosh. How long have you been doing comedy?
Okay, so this is such a hard question to answer because I actually did the original Room in like 2013.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
I started,
for all the listeners, viewers who are unfamiliar, when you say original Room, you and I know what we're talking about, but which original Room?
So the Hollywood Comedy Store.
Not Adam and Eve's Garden, in other words.
Yeah.
Not the very first room that there ever was.
The first room. The first architectural room.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I did that, and then I would just kind of do that every once in a while. My friend Matt Taylor, who's also a comic, would always give me opportunities if, you know, of course, bringer shows. I'm not like Chris Rock or anything. So I would like...
Well, those are the two levels.
Yeah, so he'd be like, you can do my show if you bring... But he would only be like, just bring like 3 people.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's
so
a killer.
I would do the Room. I think like 3 years ago, he put me up at the Ha. He would put me up there a lot.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of took like a year off, and then I started full force like 2 years ago in the Pretty Funny Women like acting class.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. You sasaid acting class. Was that just a Freudian or was
Freudian flip?
Yeah.
Pretending to be a person class. I mean,
boop,
imposter
beep, boop,
syndrome 101.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
no,
man.
Yeah, well, I had been taking another acting class, and somebody in that class said, hey, I started taking Pretty Funny Women, you should try it. But also another comic who's, you know, kind of cool right now, he was in that class with me, and he was like, you got to do stand-up. Like, I do it all the time, and it's awesome. So
yeah. Oh, that's great.
Shout out to JT Parr.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And what has your been, so had you done a comedy class before Pretty Funny Women?
Yeah. So when I first moved out here, no, like in 2012, 13, I feel like I'm like, what are these years? How did my bicep
What even happened? Yeah.
Who am I?
Sometime before, in the before times.
Yeah. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. So after the Titanic sank, I started taking improv.
Okay.
But at Upright Citizens Brigade.
Yeah. UCB, baby.
Yeah, I interned there for a year.
Okay.
I also wrote for some shows there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that was cool. But I moved out here because I went to the Lee Strasberg Institute, the method acting school.
Oh, so you moved out for acting.
Yeah, I moved out here like pretty sure I was going to win an Oscar. Like everyone's like, I'm going to be a serious actor, man. And then you're like, ugh.
I mean, it could still happen, Bridget.
Yeah, no, totally. I just think the method is a little, it was a little hard for me to stay focused. I kind of wanted to laugh. And
it was too downery?
No, it's like, it's very indulgent. You literally do the exercise for 3 hours before you get into the work.
Oh, okay. So wait, what is the exercise for this method acting? What do you mean?
Okay, so Lee Strasberg has something called the chair exercise, and it's where you sit in a chair and you like loosen up every part of your body, and you also have to be like, oh.
Yeah.
Apparently Charlize Theron did it for 2 weeks and was like, screw this. So like I basically felt a lot like that, but I didn't want to say anything. And like everyone who would be like, I want to sit in the chair and really, I'd be like, I can just get there.
Yeah, I can do it. Let's just tap it in, switch the switch, right?
I can think of something sad and it doesn't take 3 hours, man.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, so you left that you dropped out of that class.
I didn't drop out. I graduated with a year certificate.
Wow, good for you.
Cool kids, right?
Yeah.
So.
Gotcha. So what drew you to stand-up then? How did you make the move from serious actor to stand-up?
So this is the kicker. So I lived in my old apartment before this one. I lived in a 2-bedroom, and I lived with my boyfriend in one room, and in the other room, it was kind of like, you know, one person would be there, then leave, and another person would move in. And eventually this girl moved in who was a Wiccan.
Nice.
Yeah, and she was like also in like everything. Like I still watch shows and I'm like, there she is.
Wow.
She was like, hey, like I met this guy Matt Taylor. He's gonna put me in a show in the original room. Want to do it? Like, and I was like, yeah. So that's how I got to go with Matt Taylor. And like that friendship with Matt Taylor has gone so far that like he put me in his show in the Brea Improv this year. So,
that's great.
Yeah, we've really stayed in touch. He's a cool guy.
Yeah. Oh, well, good for you. That's awesome.
Yeah. The one I did with Jeremy.
Jeremy McKiernan.
Yeah, he like knew his way around backstage. It was like my first time there. Like, how do we get here?
Oh, that's funny. That's great. What a good show that must have been then.
Yeah, it was. Oh my gosh, Seth, you're literally like, you could just say like, hey, this pen, and the audience is like, oh. It's like, okay, cool.
All right, let's go, baby. Yeah, it is interesting. So has your experience generally been more positive doing shows outside of LA, or is it a mixed bag, both in and out?
That was my first show outside of LA. And
okay.
I was supposed to do a show at Levity Live, and that got canceled because of quarantine.
Yeah, good old quarantine, man.
But I would say the experience was pretty crazy. Like, I don't mean to be like braggadocious because it's based on absolutely nothing, but like everyone wants to take your picture after the show.
Is that right?
They're like, oh my gosh, she must be big, and it's like based off of like nothing.
Come on. You're up on stage. You're crushing it.
I mean, that's what's cool. It's like they're like, just because they're not in LA, like just as smart as we are, but meaning like they're not around the fact that there's a lot of us, you know, just
hopefully a lot less. Yeah. I hope there are a lot less of us after quarantine.
Oh yeah. I'm
just because I'm a selfish person.
No, I'm on board with that.
Nice. Good. All right. So so you're still pursuing acting?
No, I mean, I can't honestly say. I did a few commercials last year, but
that's
was
cool.
Like It was luck. It was like this.
Well, isn't everything a little bit?
I feel like I'm just like, here's my resume.
Yeah.
No, it was just somebody I knew, like with most of the gigs, and they were like, hey, like I thought of you for this. And that was it wasn't like I mentioned.
Yeah. Still,
I didn't
I mean, I have done 0 commercials, so.
Yeah, and these were like commercials that would maybe play on like your Yak Back or something, or like your Tamagotchi. Like they're not on TV, so it's okay. I made money and it was fine.
Yeah, hey, as long as you're making the dough.
Yeah.
That's great. So mostly pursuing stand-up at this point then, you think?
Totally. I decided like I'm just going to go full force, you know.
Nice. Yeah, so what has drawn you to stand-up other than the Wiccan saying you might want to try it?
First of all, Seth, I love that you like really ask questions. This is awesome.
Well, I'm trying. We got to do something during quarantine.
Well, I mean, like, you could also just like run your set like other stuff I've done.
No, I'm not going to do that. This is to get to know Bridget Sell, and we're going to get into your religious beliefs or spiritual beliefs or lack thereof. We're just trying to set the friendly ground first before we delve into the more controversial topics potentially.
I mean, I love the controversial stuff. I mean, what got me into stand-up? The fact that it was the immediacy of it, like the fact that I was taking an acting class where we would get these scripts for stuff that we were never going to book right away.
Right, sure.
It would be like a role Meryl Streep would get. And I'm like, I might as well. And then there was a class that was so honest that we would just play like the waiter and like, I was like, okay, this isn't even fun. Like,
yeah.
So finally just was like, I want to do something where like the gratification is immediate. You're up there, you're in control. And if you can't get the crowd laughing, that's on you. Like you have to work a little harder. And there is like no greater win than having a crowd seem like they're going to hate you and then just like winning them back.
Yeah. Yes. No, that's absolutely true.
You're kind of screwed.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. So I feel like with stand-up, it's great when things go great, like you're talking about this immediate gratification. How do you deal with, and I know this doesn't happen to you often, but how do you deal with the negative immediate response? A bombing joke. I don't know if you've been heckled.
Yeah, I've been heckled.
Yeah. How do you deal with those experiences? And what are those experiences like for people who would be interested in doing stand-up? How would you describe those experiences, and what strategies do you have for dealing with it?
I'm just laughing because my brain is like playing through every single bomb city.
Oh man.
I mean, I'd say you get through it on your own. The hardest part of a bomb is when it has to bounce off of somebody you respect. Like when you walk off stage and you see a bro that like, you both do comedy together and they're just like, yep,
okay, that
was a set up there. And you're like, cool. But that feeling when nobody's laughing at a joke that's usually a slam dunk, you gotta get used to like the part of you that just died will come back to life. I did a show for a motorcycle bar once.
Oh,
and they
yikes.
didn't care about my dating problems for sure.
Yeah. Interesting. Well, I'm sure most of them are just like, I'm single. Why don't you just date me?
Yeah. Like it's kind of hard because like my comedy is kind of self-deprecating and it is weird. And I mean this in like the most honest way.
Yeah.
If I look too dressed up for a show, a lot of my jokes won't work. There's like a certain way I have to look for my jokes to work, or else it's like, what the is she talking about? And
yeah.
Like, well, when my hair is this way, you don't want to talk to me.
Just like, trust me. Just trust me on that.
Trust me, I can look like a lot of
yeah.
Like, I mean, I feel like I'm sounding so like, look at me, but like, it's such a true thing for women. Like, we think, oh, if I look really good, like I'm going to slay. But like, it's sometimes like you kind of have to be a blank canvas up there for your jokes to work.
Yeah. Well, and I guess just from observing female comedians, I think male comedians deal with the same issue.
Oh, okay.
Well, I just mean I talked to Robert Schultz, and he's not super self-deprecating as far as physical looks go,
Okay.
but he's also a good-looking guy, right? So if he got
That's
up
true.
and talked about how ugly he is, I think in a similar way his jokes would not land.
Yeah.
Whereas,
No, it's
I
true.
can get up there and be like, "Hey, I'm a fat married guy. I don't need to impress anybody."
Well, yeah.
And people will be like, "Yeah, that's so true. We can totally tell that you're not trying anymore." I think both genders have to deal with it, but I do say and sense that it's more poignant for women.
Yeah.
I mean, across all professions, women have to deal with appearance infinitely more than men do.
Hmm. Well, it's
So,
just
yeah.
about how you feel comfortable in your jokes. And I feel, and I think a lot of comics I'm friends with feel most comfortable in some chucks, some jeans, and like a
Yeah.
top, and like really just like be anybody in our story. We're free to be animated. There are some shows that like require you to be super girly and wear heels, and that's really, really hard. 'Cause it's like, now
So
I'm a clown on stage.
do you change your material for those shows, or do you preface it by saying, something like, "I don't always look this way. I just had to, and it took me
Okay.
12 hours."
So this is so specific, and I wonder if this will even translate. So I did the show at the Laugh Factory, and I, had to wear a dress because of the brand of the show.
Yeah. So when you say the show, what do you mean?
So the show, it's the Pretty Funny Women show.
Yeah. Okay. Got it.
It's no longer a show at the Laugh Factory, but it used to be.
Right.
And we would, go up wearing a dress. But I knew that I had practiced these jokes like in my comfort wear person.
Yeah. Right.
These jokes are animated. I have to play each character, and this is how it's going to go down. But I'm in this really slim-fitting black dress.
Yeah.
And I know when I do these jokes, I'm usually like letting my gut loose, like kind of just being like, hey. So the way that it translated on camera, people were like disgusted by my body. I got body shamed beyond reason. And like, I felt so hot that night. But once I got on stage, I've become this like it.
So wait, why were you body shamed? When you say body shamed?
Okay, so I've lost 15 pounds since that show.
Wow.
But
hey, congratulations.
I was kind of in a weird place where I was like maybe like drinking or eating more, but it was all in like good fun, like because I was like going out with comics more, whatever.
Right. Okay.
Internally we're great. Maybe externally I was eating a little more, drinking a few more beers. So
Sure.
I remember like doing that show. I'm thinking I looked great, but on camera it was like, oh, Bridget's had a few like things to eat more. Or like I just looked a little like, even my sister was like, why would you pick that dress?
Oh no.
I was like, I don't know. I'm thinking of like burning it during quarantine. Like lighting it on fire and being like, here you go, everyone.
Yeah, I got rid of it.
Some of my favorite insult. Yeah, my favorite insult under the picture or under the thing was her body is shaped like a bag of laundry.
Oh my gosh. That is awful.
But it gave me a great joke because then I did jokes where I'm like, what if I went into Gap and was like, I don't need a medium, but do you have a size bag of laundry?
Wow.
Specific.
Yeah, that's what makes it so hurtful. The amount of thought that goes into that.
Everybody gets so pumped about, the exposure of those videos, and
yeah,
it really is a cool opportunity. But the human side of you can't help but be like, but I looked fat, I guess, because people were saying that. I mean, it's like, whoa.
Well, that part's bad. I mean, but you say that your humor and what I've seen, its accurate portrayal, right, is a little bit self-deprecating. So maybe in the long run, it helps, right? Because then your set may have hit harder.
Yeah, it made my skin a lot more tough too, like to those bombs. Like when you experience like people you didn't even know existed in the world messaging you like about your body, you're like, this bomb is fine.
Yeah, I can handle this. At least I agree with the people here.
Yeah. I know exactly.
So what strategies have you developed to deal with the bomb in the moment? I mean, I understand there are mental strategies to say, I'll do another show. I'll bounce back. This isn't like, no bookers are here. So what does it matter?
Mm-hmm.
But as far as in the moment, how do you fight the urge to just run away, or maybe to even just bail on a joke?
Okay, so I've never bailed on a joke. Like, I'm gonna finish it.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple what I do when I'm bombing. I get louder.
It's not a bad strategy.
I decide that people need to listen then.
Yeah. Oh, interest. Yeah. So you must not be paying attention, and that's why these aren't hitting. Very nice.
I get this cussed.
That's okay. I'll just
okay.
So and so listeners are aware, in case you haven't seen it already on the YouTube or on the Spotify, wherever it is you get your podcast, there are 2 versions of every single episode. There's an unedited for the grown-ups and an edited for those who are moral. And that's the
I noticed that.
Yeah. So you be yourself. Don't even worry about it.
Cool.
So you just get louder. You get more aggressive.
A lot of my stories so the jokes that work the best for me are act outs. And if I'm not giving a Meryl Streep of an act out, I will have to really fight for it. Like, it's like, okay, now you got to do your like best version of this joke. If like halfway through I'm just like, and then she goes, I'm like, okay, now I have to really perform the hell of it. Because it's like you start to feel it. Like, you're like, they can tell that I don't like this joke right now, or they can tell that like I'm not giving this, I don't know. Like, I also kind of get thrown off. Like, I'll start to bomb if I can sense that people aren't paying attention. Nothing makes me bomb harder than seeing someone in the front row yawn.
Oh, sure.
Start to get so in my head, like, and so.
Yeah.
But.
Well, it's interesting that you say that, because I have also found when I bomb or when I show any sort of break in my set, it's typically because I'm focusing on 1 or 2 people in the audience that I think are not enjoying my performance.
Yeah.
And then I suddenly try to tailor it to them, and for no reason at all. 50 other people might be having a great time, but I'm like, Gwen and Sam don't like me. And I have to have everyone here like me.
I think that's the plight of the comic,
Yeah, perhaps so.
We're like, everybody needs to be happy, but I mean, it's a gift, it's a curse.
Yeah. Well, and my wife has noticed this about me, and she will say, ignore these people. You're not performing for just them. Like, everybody else is having a great time. So don't ruin it.
Plus, they could be comics. I can think jokes are funny, but I'm not laughing because I'm a jaded SOB.
Yeah, no, that's true.
I'm like,
very true.
That's funny.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So, have you done Zoom shows or online shows, Twitch shows?
Yeah, I guess Zoom. I didn't know how Twitch worked, and I did a Zoom show last week or 2 weeks. Yeah, last week with Reed Brackenberry.
Yeah, Reed, great guy.
Yeah, we did a show where we had to play like lovers that were.
Oh, that's right. How did that show go?
It was really fun, actually, because we had to get this like argument, and it kind of brought our improv skills into play. And like Reed basically had to just play like somebody who wasn't good at cooking. And it was really funny, like the stuff he came up with to say.
Interesting. And what was your character trait?
So I was his girlfriend, and the quarrel, because the show's called like Couples Quarrels, was that we were 2 chefs, and whenever we were in the kitchen, it was too crowded.
Okay.
But he thought he loved being in the kitchen with me, but I thought it's too crowded, and you're in my space,
Yeah.
So we argued like it was really heated. It was really heated stuff. Really interesting stuff.
Wow.
Riveting.
Yeah. Oh, that's fun. That's very fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. So have you
I enjoyed it more than stand-up, than just being alone.
Yeah, I was going to say, that sounds like a very different experience than any Zoom shows I've done.
What do you think of it? I want to hear your opinion of it.
It's tough. I will say it's very difficult. I find it a little bit demoralizing. The I guess there are positives and negatives. It's good because I'm still, able to run material, which is fun in front of real people. But this vice I told you about, where I like notice one person in the front row that isn't enjoying the show, Zoom, everyone's in the freaking front row. So now I'm watching 50 people all at the same time. There's no front row that big.
That with 50 people? I mean, lucky you.
No. I mean, really, it's like a Zoom show with maybe, I've done a Zoom show though where there were 20 guests. So there was a substantial number of people.
That's great.
Yeah. I mean, yes and no, because you'd like to crush it every single time, but it's a very different experience. And so I was sort of like,
their faces are like, like they're so amplified. They're just so zoomed into you.
Right.
You're like,
yeah, well, you have that problem. You also have the problem of like terrible lighting. I mean, so there's kind of some fun crowd work stuff you can do because you're in their home, right? So you see what they have decided to show you for some reason. But then you also have the problem of like distractions. You have no idea what, like, I did a show where this woman they had the phone or whatever they were using on to show the stand-up show, but she and her husband, boyfriend, whatever, were clearly watching the television. They were watching something else while it was playing on the phone. And it's like, what are you doing? How much entertainment do you need to consume at the same time?
Pick one. Pick one, please.
I mean,
it doesn't have to be me even.
I know. I don't care. Anyway.
Human.
So that's one issue. The other issue is on Zoom, you can turn off your camera, right? So some people are completely turned off, like they've muted themselves because there's too much background noise and their camera's off. And so then it's just like performing like you have no idea what's landing or what's not. And and that beauty of immediate response is delayed or not available online. Right? So you'll tell a joke and there will be this lag before the laugh really comes back to you. And I think as a stand-up, we're programmed to put silence where we want it, but when silence happens where we don't, it's terrifying.
Yeah, I would just describe Zoom shows as terrifying. I felt nervous. I felt like nervous. It's weird how you get nervous and you're literally on your couch.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Gratification. Is there a lag, by the way?
Well, my internet gets a little unstable for some reason in the evenings.
Mine too. That's why I'm like, I hope it's not my internet.
The joys of all of this online.
I love it when you listen to the podcast and it's like, well, I did one Zoom show and they did mute the audience and I was like, this will be my last Zoom show. Yeah,
it's very rough. There are a couple of people I've seen comment or tweet like doing an online show and then basically being like, I actually never want to do stand-up again. That was so punishing.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, there are other comics who are saying, like, this is not the medium for stand-up. It is the medium for, I would say, podcast or, any type of interview. But it's not an audience format. It's not meant for a live, show.
Right. Right. It is
that's
tough.
why it's so when musicals on TV.
Yeah. But I mean, it's as close as we're going to get for who knows how long. So I don't know. It's a mixed bag.
I did see a commercial for a movie coming out in theaters on July 1st.
Ooh, wow. It's an ambitious theater.
Yeah.
Well, I hope it's real. I hope they haven't.
Me too.
Speaking of movies, do you remember the horror film that takes place all on like a webcam? where the killer's
Yes.
like showing up. Do you remember what that's called?
I remember that it has a lot of people we know in it, right?
Oh, I don't know. Does it?
There are some comics in it.
Now I have to watch it.
It's called Unfriended.
Unfriended. All right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to check this out for real though, because as you're talking about it, it's like that movie has to hit harder now, right? It's gotta hit harder now than it did before. Anyway. Oh boy. Where what did you say?
I think we were talking about Unfriended.
Yeah.
And that's a good point, that like that movie, I think I saw that in theaters.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
Wow.
I think I did.
Man, like 12 years ago. Jeez.
No, it came out like 4 years ago.
No, I know.
Is there? No, okay.
I know. I was
Like,
just saying this quarantine has felt so long that
it had.
where are you from?
Yeah.
Where are you from originally? So you moved to LA for acting, but where from? Where from did you move?
I'm from Baltimore, Maryland, the East Coast.
Man, I thought for a second you were going to start singing it.
Wow, there's like a real delay.
There is a real delay, and it's giving me PTSD of Zoom shows I've done.
No, I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
You know what it is? My internet's on the bad internet.
Oh, yeah. The 2.4 gigs. I get that sometimes too.
I should be on the 5G, and it's
The
just
5G. You got to get on the cancer G.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, what were you going to say about your wife?
My wife and kids have listened to, my wife loves musicals. So she has played Hairspray many times. So I thought first when you said Baltimore, you were then going to break into song.
Good Morning, Baltimore.
Yeah, that's the one. You got it.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big staple of the town. In fact, a big thing as teenagers was, so Divine is like the lead in the movie. She plays like the cross-dresser, I guess, drag queen. Her mom. She plays her mom.
Yeah. I mean, John Travolta in the movie, right? Which movie, though, are we talking about?
The Ricky Lake one, the first
Okay.
one.
Yeah, gotcha.
The original one from the early 90s.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, so the house that Divine lived in was like apparently owned by a bunch of kids that like we would party with. Oh. And they would say that like when you were in the house, you just wanted to keep partying. And they thought that they claimed that it was because the residual energy of the like partying that went on.
Oh my gosh. I mean,
it was haunted by Divine.
Yeah, of all the spirits to haunt a place, a partier is probably not the worst, right? That's great.
You would suddenly get motivated to feel good.
That's an amazing ghost. Yeah.
It's a fun ghost.
So Baltimore. Wow. Yeah. So what was your experience like growing up? I mean, we're going to move now to the religious stuff. So were you raised religious?
Cool. Yes.
What brand? Catholic. The most popular. Nice.
Is everyone you talk to? Like, I'm a Catholic.
No, not everybody. Because I've had Josh Edelman on the show, who's clearly not Catholic. Yeah, we've had some other people on the show. Monterey is probably closest to, like the Wiccan that you described.
Okay.
Yeah.
No judgment there.
No judgments. I don't care what people believe as long as they leave me alone. It's fine. Which is very hypocritical of me to say because I don't leave people alone. Catholic. So like you went to mass every week, or what brand of Catholic were you?
Every Sunday I went to Catholic church. I went to Catholic elementary school, Catholic middle school, Catholic high school.
So very Catholic.
Yeah, boy, girl, elementary. And then in 6th grade, I went to a school called Maryvale Preparatory School for Girls. And I went there till I was a senior, yeah. So I wore
Jeez.
like the blazer and the skirt and
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Yeah. Now hold on, go back and go into more detail slower if you could, please. That would be great.
Oh gosh, I
So
wore the
very
beehive.
Catholic then. Like, did you have nuns teaching you in school? Is that the
Oh yeah,
level? Yeah.
nuns. Some were nuns. A lot of people like weren't nuns. I mean, I remember the religion teacher's name was Sister Dot, Sister
Uh-huh.
Dorothy. The head of the school was the headmistress was Sister Sean McGuire. So
Uh-huh.
very like Irish. But what was really cool is that our school took place at a castle that was built in the 1920s,
My
and it
gosh.
was built by this. Yeah, it was built by a family named the Wicks, and he built it for his wife who was like really sick.
Yeah.
And anyway,
John
they would
Wick,
throw all
right?
these.
No.
Yeah, John Wick. It's crazy. I know. I take things full circle.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then he went on a
So
flight.
yeah,
Yeah.
he built this castle though, and he would throw these parties, and like F. Scott Fitzgerald would come, and like it was a really cool school. And then he
Wow.
donated the school or the castle, which was his home, to the Sisters of Notre Dame de Namur, who made it into a school.
Got it. Now, were you also inspired to party at school, given the residual ghosts that remained who partied in the castle? Was Divine there?
No, you couldn't party at the school, but they did have dances in like the Great Hall.
Oh, sure. Now, for the Great Hall dances, did you guys like meet up with the boys' prep?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like the all boys Catholic school that was like our brother school. There was St. Paul's, Calvert Hall, and Loyola Blakefield. So my brother went to Loyola, but we basically hung out with the Loyola boys.
The Loyola boys.
Big
Man,
laughers.
that's amazing.
Man.
Yeah. So did you ever have a personal connection with the Catholic faith? Are you still Catholic, or how do you identify now religiously?
I identify as Catholic, and I've always what's cool is that I moved out here when I was 22, and like the part of me that like wasn't sure about like I had already decided like I believed in God like at a really young age. So like I never really felt like I'm going to be like a doubting Tom about it or anything.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of something that I discuss. Yeah. Like I discuss it more with people that understand it. I don't like people who make me feel like he's like, oh, that's just Santa Claus for adults. Like that's always a conversation I don't need to have.
Yeah, that's a very interesting.
There might be a day where you're asking something to help you through something.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, see, and that's actually a bit that I've been trying to work on, comparing all of the very enlightened, atheists or agnostics who are like, oh no, you just got to meditate, put it out in the universe. That's also called prayer. It's like the exact same thing. I don't understand what you're making fun of me for.
Exactly.
So it's
also funny how people make fun of that. Like it's just always been something like, oh, that's to make fun of someone for. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So you growing up then, you were around. You were around a lot of other people who also believed in God, I would take it.
Yeah, like every guy I dated had a St. Christopher medal. Like it was just like, yeah. And then I lived out here with a boyfriend. We lived together for like 3 years, and so like I've always been kind of like believing in God, and so is my partner, I guess.
So what does Saint Christopher mean? Because I'm not that familiar with Catholicism or Catholic saints in particular.
Oh, okay. So each like saint is like the patron saint of something, right? So Christopher is like popular with guys because he's the patron saint of like travelers wandering, like, you know.
Okay.
Oh, he's so cute. He's got Christopher on his medal, which means he like wants to be like everywhere and travel, you know.
Okay.
And like, you know, there's St. Jude, the patron saint of lost causes. So she's the face of like cancer research, or he is, you know.
Right,
So it's like they all have like a cause, and you do that.
Yeah, yeah. So did you have who is your patron saint?
Like
or who is your patron saint?
Well, so when you're Catholic, you get a confirmation name.
Yeah.
So my full name is Bridget Christine Barbara Sell.
Nice.
So Barbara is my confirmation name.
Barb.
Babs.
Babs.
So
Saint Babs.
I picked Barbara. I know, but I picked it because my aunt's name is Barbara. So
okay, that's sweet.
She's a good saint. She's known for praying on a hilltop, and her father beheaded her while she was praying, and then the fires of hell rose up.
Wow, to get the dad.
You know, as they do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Interesting. So is there any...
Yeah, I was just going to say my sister's confirmation name is actually really cool. It's Perpetua, who is a really cool saint. And my sister chose Perpetua because when she was put in the den with a lion for being, you know, Catholic.
Yeah, Perpetua, not your sister.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Perpetua.
Yeah.
She asked for a hair, like she asked if she could have something to put her hair up. And my sister just loved that so much. This is like girls, like, that's so weird.
That's amazing. So wait, why did she want her hair up?
Because she knew that she was like, they would put like, you know, Catholics like in a lion's den knowing that they were going to lose, but she asked for a hair thing because girls need hair things when they're like trying to be athletic.
So she was ready to fight.
Yeah, she was going to do her best, so she asked for something to pull her hair back.
Yeah. I was going to say there are a couple things she could have been doing, but given it was a lion, she was probably going to fight.
Stairs or like a knife.
I know, but you know, if you're going to bare hand fight a lion, you do want your hair up.
I think the thing was they were like, what do you want? You can have a weapon, you can have this, and she was just like, I'll just take a hair thing.
Yeah, because she was going to take him on herself.
Yeah, she got it.
Yeah. And now I was going to ask, what was Barbara praying for when she was beheaded? Is there any sense on what she was praying for?
I kind of forget. It was just that her father like forbid her from prayer, so she was praying, you know. And I think she has on like jail shackles, like the photos, because she was like imprisoned or something.
Right. Jeez. So she'd escaped and was praying. Too bad. Two wrongs. two bad things she did.
How she got to that hillside, Seth.
I mean, I just want to know what's going on. There is, so from my perspective, right, growing up Latter-day Saint, my perspective on the Catholic faith is, and going to Catholic cathedrals, which are overwhelming, right? I mean, beautiful, big, meant to make you feel in awe of God. Okay. I understand. I appreciate that. I think it's a great sort of metaphor, symbolism as you walk in, but there's also so much, I mean, mysticism about Catholicism in my mind, right? These patron saints there's like this hierarchy network getting to God based on who you're praying to and for what. And I find that all fascinating. How did you navigate that as a kid? Or have you ever, like, is that really an accurate portrayal of Catholicism?
I would say like as far as like getting to heaven, you mean like navigating your way to heaven?
Yeah. So navigating your way to heaven, and then also just in prayer when you're talking to God, or is that a thing in Catholicism?
Yeah, no, I mean, I would say I've always navigated prayer like, and in my mom's always been big on this with like the Blessed Mother. So we always like do like a Hail Mary.
Sure.
And like, so that's always been big. I believe that like, I don't know. I just think of her as like a strong person to pray to, her and like the Holy Spirit per se. Yeah. If I lose something, I pray to Saint Anthony. I have a candle for the patron saint of traveling, I think St. Christopher, that I gave to my mom, and she lights it before she visits us or gets on a plane and like says a prayer.
Yeah,
They're just
interesting.
saints that like apparently are called to action to like help you through something, like
Right.
almost like they're like a little angel or something.
Yeah. Little guardian angels, and everyone has their role up in heaven and stuff.
Yeah.
That's very cool. So are you still going to Catholic Mass?
I try to go when I can, actually. I've always gone to Easter Mass. I live right next to St. Ambrose, which is a church on Fairfax.
Yeah.
I laugh because it's like St. Ambrose, man. But it's a mighty church. And anyway, I go there sometimes. I just walk there with like AirPods. I'll go and like leave after communion.
Yeah.
Another Sell family tradition. Let's leave after communion. It's just, I mean, we're Catholic, but also very much like the Sells.
Well, you gotta.
Mom, we're not supposed to eat an hour before church, and she's like, "Just eat something." And I'm like, "Okay, thanks."
Don't be ornery at church.
I know, right?
Yeah. Oh, interesting. That's great. That's very cool. So do you think, I mean, as you think about a future family, given your experiences growing up, I guess, let me ask this first, and then we'll get to how you would raise your kids, you think. But for you, was religion, I mean, Catholicism is often also thought of as being quite repressive, right? Sexually repressive, and sort of guilt laden. Did you feel that growing up? Is that?
Yeah, there were moments of guilt.
I mean, I think that like everybody should experience some level of guilt, right? Because we all do bad things, and we should feel badly about those bad things we do. But typically, the way people paint religion as negative is they make like religion is made to feel or to make you feel way worse than you should feel.
Yeah. I think that when you cling to the idea that religion is meant to structure the way you're supposed to be, you're gonna run into this idea that like, oh, if you do this, then there must be some kind of like penalty or like, but I've always felt like with my religion, the cool part is you can, keep the good parts, and that's the part that you believe in. And like, I actually had to have a long conversation with a deacon because I had to be a godmother to my nephew. And
you had to be a godmother to your nephew?
Well, I mean, okay, so they make you like take this class in order to become a godparent. They don't really make you. My sister made me. And I was like, I have this certificate. She was like, cool. And I was like, well, who do I give it to? She was like, oh, you didn't really have to do that. I just thought it was funny. I was like, Becky. I was sitting like talking to a deacon with a notebook, like,
Wow. Yeah. Interesting.
He told me, he was like, what's your idea of the Catholic Church? And I was like, honestly, like positive, like I believe like in a lot of the good. Of course, there's a side of it that's, hasn't been very kind to like, like you can be gay, you can be straight, you can be whatever. Yeah. And he was like, well, we're a Catholic church in the middle of West Hollywood, so we're a little more liberal. He goes, we have LGBTQ Sundays. Yeah. And I was like, what's that? He was like, well, we have snacks and gatherings. And I was like, oh, he was like, we like to believe that we're changing with the world as well. So that like actually made me feel better. Like I was like, he was like, each church kind of does their own thing with it.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, cool.
Sure. There might be a pope out there somewhere who says something, but we're also just trying to make it work. Interesting.
The Pope.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
I mean,
what
my
he's
dad's
doing.
Protestant, or my dad's Presbyterian. My dad's Presbyterian.
Yeah.
So his, I think that they don't put as much emphasis into the Pope. I'm not sure. I kind of forget. That's just like whatever. He's like, I'll do what you guys want me to do.
Interesting. Yeah. Right. So how do you? I mean, the Catholic faith has obviously had its day in the court of public opinion for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you feel about that? As a Catholic, is it one of those things where you're like, yes, the church is imperfect because it's run by men who are imperfect?
Yeah.
Or has that, I mean, has that shaken your faith at all?
Well, it's really interesting because there are like so many things that have touched upon this that have, obviously surfaced in the last like 20 years. And,
Yeah.
One thing is like, the whole altar server and like priest thing, which is just so interesting because like I just watched John Mulaney's stand-up last night, and he was like, I know what you're thinking. I was an altar server, so whoa. And he was like, it was just a boring job for me. Like it wasn't any of the stuff you're thinking.
Right.
And like same, like the priest was just this old guy and he didn't care what we were doing. And like, so
Yeah.
it's like, it is unfortunate that there are bad experiences, but like I didn't grow up in that. Like a lot of the priests were like Father LaPorta, and like, they would just whatever. But also like there was a documentary called The Keepers on Netflix, and I was watching it, and all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, one of the guys who said like a priest did something to him was my dentist.
Wow.
It was
Yikes.
like,
yeah.
I know, and we knew the family was going through all this drama, and like, now I know why. It's on Netflix.
Man, that is terrifying.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he was younger, but in adulthood he was my dentist.
Yeah. Man. Well, fair enough. All right, one last question, and then we'll get to the moment you are excited about and cannot wait for. My last question for you, Bridget, is: have you felt hoodwinked by religion? I feel like a lot of people in our generation, in particular, who are raised religious, grow up and sort of they have this mentality of breaking free of the shackles of religion and coming to this greater understanding of how the world really is, how the world really works. I mean, given that you still seem quite religious, do you feel like
same Bridget, right?
Yeah, I mean, are you do you feel hoodwinked by your religion, or do you feel like there's something out there that you're missing out on?
I mean, I think I don't.
Yeah.
And this is why. Every time in my life, and I've said this for years, I've been like, why did this happen? The famous "where is God" question.
Yeah.
There's always been a reason for it. And it's like, even though there are people, like there's one comic who's like, no, sometimes you get cancer and get hit by a car the next week. Like sometimes things are just bad.
Yeah.
But it's like, I feel like at least in my life, everything that's fallen apart literally was like, oh, because this was supposed to happen. And like I've kind of gotten stronger in my religion in that I'm like, it really is about just kind of like letting it go and just kind of going for the ride and like holding on to this idea that like something was supposed to be another way never helped me. Like I've just always been like, I'm Catholic. I believe God has a plan. I believe that like, there's a heaven and, that it's a better place and that this is nothing compared to what we're in for. And like, this is even great. So
yeah.
I don't know. I've never been ashamed of the fact that I believe in that. My mom's such a Catholic lady. She's only this is the first time she's missed church ever in this quarantine.
Oh, wow. So yeah, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Wow.
She's an impressive lady.
Yeah. Well, I think you're an impressive individual as well. So thank you for sharing, Bridget. Thank you so much. And now, what's the deal with Mormons?
Well, you have to say it like Jerry Seinfeld.
All right, I got to get into the Jerry voice here. Let's see. What's the go-to phrase? What's the deal with Mormons? What's the deal with Mormons? something like that, right? What's the deal with that? What's the deal with Mormons?
It's great. It's making me laugh.
Oh, good. Oh, good. So what questions do you have? Now, when we had our Instagram conversation, you mentioned you had to go to your mother for this. And this is what I think, and this is my problem with why I can never beat my wife in an argument. I think women band together behind the scenes. So she's already talked to 3 other people about what I've done wrong and has all these, I'm just by myself, you know, St. Christopher in it up, traveling around on my own.
Right.
Yeah. So what have you and your mother come up with regarding Mormons that you're curious about?
Okay, well, first I want to say that every question I would come up with, my mom would go, "Oh, Bridget, don't ask that." So I'm like seriously like kind of worried about one of them.
No, I want you to ask
feel
all
weird
of. No, I want all of
like
these questions.
even if they're
now.
kind of weird. Okay, well,
Yeah.
the obvious one. I was like every question I was like, well, then I'll just ask this. She'd be like, "Oh, Bridget." But anyway, so we'll see. So here's like an easier one. What's the dietary restriction besides alcohol?
Got it. So this is question regarding what we call the word of wisdom.
Okay.
Yeah. So this was a revelation, just so you have a little bit of background. This was a revelation that Joseph Smith received after he, I guess in the early days of my church in the Americas and North America, Joseph Smith would meet with other men and other leaders of the church, and they would have a school of the prophets, is what they called it, where these guys would study math and language and all sorts of things. And these guys were smoking, spitting tobacco, and drinking alcohol, coffee while they met. And after their meetings, Joseph Smith's wife, Emma, would be left to clean up as Joseph sort of ushered everybody out. So she was complaining to Joseph one night, being like, "I am done cleaning up all this gross tobacco nonsense. It is disgusting. And I don't think anybody who thinks that they are communicating with God should be doing any of these gross things." And so he prayed about it and then received this revelation, what we call the word of wisdom. So the dietary restrictions are not very oppressive at all. What we cannot do is smoke. We cannot use tobacco for ingestion. All right. So if there's like a medicinal tobacco where you can, it's expressly said in this revelation that you can use the leaf, right? You can cover a wound with the leaf, tobacco leaf, to try to help it heal. So we cannot smoke. We don't smoke. We don't drink alcohol. Smoking includes, drugs, really, right? No recreational drugs. If it's prescribed medication, A-okay. And then the other thing, the more controversial thing, I suppose, is hot drinks, which has been interpreted as coffee or tea. We cannot have those. So no coffee, no tea.
No coffee?
No coffee, Bridget. No coffee.
That just broke my brain. So
yeah.
I feel like, but I literally feel like, okay, saying that alcohol would, like she's saying, anything, you would perceive or communicate while drunk is not, godly or, holy.
Right.
And I kind of agree. That explains a lot of my Saturday nights.
Yeah. I mean, the overarching spirit of this revelation is to be clear for the Holy Spirit to communicate, God's word to you, right? And so really, I think the revelation is about addictive substances, right? You shouldn't be addicted to anything other than the Spirit of the Lord. So if there's something that's preventing you from feeling that spirit because you're too worried about your next fix, then you should probably let that go, right?
Yeah, it's like a toxin.
Yeah. Now, that all being said,
kind of like, nuns being married to God per se, you know.
I mean, kind of.
Like the
Yeah.
idea that like they don't want, you know, romance with another, you
Sure.
know, man to interrupt
Right.
that or whatever. But I do
I
disagree
suppose.
with that part of the I do
Yeah.
disagree with that part. I think priests should be able to get married. I think they should be able to get married.
Yeah, I think you might be
Okay.
Anglican, Bridget. You might be Anglican.
Realizing you're not Catholic at all.
Oh my
But
goodness.
also, like, I feel like you would be super healthy. You know, you can't smoke or.
Well,
Man.
I mean, that's what's funny. Some of the fattest people I've ever known are Mormon, and they shouldn't, you know, they shouldn't be. Yeah, I think, you know, for all I've said about addictive substances, there are so many people in my faith that are addicted to Diet Coke. Like they just cannot, you know, they cannot function without a Diet Coke. And
Is there caffeine in that?
so that's the thing. It's not the caffeine that the revelation is opposed to. It is something else about coffee, apparently, that is just not good. You know, I'll have my occasional Mountain Dew. I love me a good Mountain Dew. So it's not the caffeine that's the problem. There's something else going on.
Maybe chicory or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea.
I did ask my mom, I said, Mom, what do you know about Mormons? And she said, I know that the church was founded by somebody Smith, Joe Smith, Joey.
Yeah.
I was like, huh. Then she goes, and I will tell you, I have never met a Mormon person that wasn't the nicest person in the world.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I was like, oh, Christine. And then, okay, so here's the question that she didn't want me to ask you.
Excellent. Yes, let's do this.
She said that the Mormon men have to wear certain underwear.
Ah, fascinating.
Wear that
Yes. So this is the holy garment, and it's not only men who have to wear it. Women also wear this holy garment, the underwear.
Okay, do you wear it every day?
I do wear it every day, not for every activity, but I do wear it every day. Yeah. So we get as a member of the faith, you get the garment after going through a ceremony in our temple called the endowment. Mm-hmm. And the garment is like any other, you know, sort of holy garb. It's a physical reminder of a covenant that we make while in the temple during this ceremony. We just wear it underneath our clothing as opposed to, you know, Hasidic Jews who wear it outside of their clothing. Or I'm trying to think about it, you know, or the hijab or the
is it like a sash or like actually like a loincloth?
It is it looks like a boxer brief or boxer or brief. They make when they first instituted it, it was a one piece underwear, like you know, like the old flannel, like with the flap in the back, that kind of underwear. That's what it was originally. They have updated it many times to make it more modern, more comfortable. So yeah, now typically it's a two-piece. Most people wear a two-piece. So they have sort of a t-shirt kind of, you know, t-shirt, essentially an undershirt, and then boxers or briefs that are, you know, made under these certain conditions for the holy garment, right? Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I literally thought that you were going to be like, I don't know what your mom's talking about.
Oh, no. She's for real. And it is for men and women. And they, obviously for men, right? Underwear is underwear. It's whatever. For women, it is not that sexy. I will say that. It's not meant to be, and it is not. And it's not even, in talking to my wife about it, it is not that comfortable either. And so there have been some more like pragmatic issues with the garments for women, because women also wear bras, you know? And so there's this whole like undercurrent about, well, do you wear the garment top under the bra or over the bra? Because sort of theologically, right, you're supposed to wear it as close to your skin as possible. But it's very uncomfortable if it's worn under a bra. So they've done a lot of
Word.
changes, and there have been some sort of principles that have changed about how people can wear the garment, in particular how women can wear it, so it's more comfortable and doable.
Wow, that's so interesting. Wow, you're gonna blow my mom's socks off. She's gonna be like, you did not ask him that. Bridget.
Yeah, no, I'm proud of you for asking it. It's a
I
great
went
question.
for it.
Yeah, good for you. So yeah, that's the simple answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want me to ask one more, or
Yeah, go
should
for
you?
it. No,
Okay.
go for it.
So I was gonna ask. I'm gonna do this other one. So since we've been quarantined per se,
Yeah.
what has your how has your religious practices been stifled, and what do you do as like an alternative?
Ooh, so when our church was pretty quick actually to close. So typically we go to services on Sunday. When I was growing up, they were 3 hours. You would go for a 3-hour block every week. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so sacrament meeting or communion would be 1 hour, and then you would do sort of 2 hours of Sunday school-ish kind of stuff. Now it's 2 hours. So the communion part, our sacrament, yeah, I mean, come on, is that is still 1 hour. And then they have alternating Sunday school kind of stuff for the other hour of church.
Okay.
Yeah. So the other, when I was growing up, the other 2 hours, one was Sunday school and one was priesthood or Relief Society meeting. So the men and women would divide and meet for an hour separately. Now they alternate those weeks with Sunday school or priesthood Relief Society.
Okay.
Now under quarantine, our church is, as soon as it sort of came down the grapevine politically that everything was going to shut down, our church immediately was like, great, shut it down. All of the leaders of the congregation, our bishops, basically send out an email to all of the members in their congregation or in their ward, which is what we call our congregations, to give all of the men permission to hold sacrament meeting or to hold communion within their homes. So the only thing that's really changed for us is I bless the sacrament and distribute it to the family. And then we have a little lesson that's prepared by me, my wife, or one of the kids. And it's really short. We have about a half hour of church, if that.
Okay.
So it's great.
That's good. I was going to ask if it had to be like lengthy.
No. It's as lengthy as it needs to be. So, us with 3 kids, it's pretty quick. It's pretty short.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, kind of a side note, when I was a kid, we used to play church at home all the time. So.
Oh, yeah, that's very fun. Yeah, we ain't playing though, Bridget. We ain't playing. We're doing it for real.
I know. Well, I mean, I'm just saying I know the at home,
Yeah, it's a very relaxing drill. I have to admit, I am not sure how many people are going to be coming back for the weekly meetings because we've been so used to doing it at home. Well, it's just so convenient, so comfy doing it at home. I think, I'm not sure exactly, we'll phase it back in, obviously, as a church. But I wonder how many people will be like, you can hold off on me coming back. I'm going to still, quarantine for safety.
Yeah, make it about safety.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's all I got for you.
Oh, all right.
So interesting.
Well, these were great. These were great questions, Bridget. Well done. You said that was all your questions, and you said you wrote down.
I wrote down the answers so I can tell Christine, my mom.
Oh, nice. Well, good. And tell your mother hello for me. If she will be a guest, let me know.
Oh, she would just be so flattered.
It would be fun to have you both on at some point. Get to know the real person behind your famous character portrayal.
Oh, cool. Yeah, well, I'm actually going home next month, so maybe I'll hit you up.
Yeah, that'd be great. This
was super fun, though.
Well, thank you so much for doing this, Bridget. This was a blast. Anything you want to plug? Anything coming up other than you going home?
I'm like, tomorrow's Tuesday. That's a big deal.
That is a big deal.
Nothing of late.
All right. Did you want to take the moment now to pledge your allegiance to a certain candidate, or do you want to just leave everyone up in the air on that?
Oh God, I can't do politics right now.
Good. We'll leave it at religion.
We all know who I'm not.
Religion.
We all know.
Well, all right. You all heard it here, folks. Bridget hates Sleepy Joe. That's who she hates.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about Joe Smith. I'm talking about Joe Biden.
Wait, I feel like he's our only option.
You are our only hope. You are our only hope, Joe. Oh,
I know,
boy.
It's a rough one.
Yeah, I don't know. This will be fun. Bridget, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Dad.
And have a safe travel. Light the St. Christopher candle before going home.
I will.
And hit us up when you and Christine want to be on the show again.
I will, for sure. Thank you so much, Dad.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Bridget. Have a good week.
Okay, I'll see you.